on the docket for this evening's agenda with a number of delegations. I also note that we'll have a notice of motion coming forward from Councillor Durrell after that. But for the item that's before us, I will be vacating the chair in favor of Mayor Jaworski. Certainly it's inappropriate for the chair to be a significant part of debate, and so in order to be reasonably part of debate for this item, given it is in the ward, I should be out of the chair. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Jaworski until the end of the agenda.
Welcome. Thank you, Councillor Henry. We have an item on the agenda, the Beechwood North Home Association Special Service Levy Vote. We have a report that we have prepared, and Mr. Hittinga will give us a bit of an overview before we get started, and then we'll move to delegations.
Thank you, Mayor Jaworski. I'll be very brief. Just wanted to give a high-level view of what the report is all about. Basically, all we're doing tonight is asking Council to approve that staff perform an official vote, and through that process, we'll be back to Council on March 20th with the results of that vote, and we'll be asking Council for a decision at that time on whether to proceed with a special service levy or not. So tonight is only approving an official vote and some of the ancillary documents that will go into it as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Hittinga. Do we have any questions for Paul at this time? Seeing none, we will move into delegations and just give people a heads up. The delegations, depending on time they registered, they could get full time, which is up to 10 minutes to speak. People registered later in the day receive 5 minutes. So we have a total of 14 people with up to 10 minutes, 140 minutes, and 5 people with 3 minutes. So, 3 people with 5 minutes. So we just have to, I'm looking for new information as people get up. You should feel free to make good use of your time. Since you don't know what order you're in, I'll just read out the first names since we seem to have a whole bunch of different first names here. We have Paul, Dennis, Sharon, Rob, Shelley, Melissa, Katerina, Bob, Joe, Dave, Andrew, Barry, David, Sheldon, followed by with 5 minutes, Marcia, Jeff, and Jan. So with that, first up is Paul Lang. Welcome, Paul.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name's Paul Lang. My wife Shirley and I have been residents of the Beechwood North neighborhood since 1978. After the restrictive covenants, which required homeowners in Beechwood North to belong to the Homeowners Association and pay the annual fees, when they expired in 1988, I, along with the majority of other homeowners living in the Beechwood North neighborhood, left the association. Before I start, I have some handouts outlining my written submissions.
Thank you very much, Paul.
You're welcome. Now, I understand that the Special Services Levy, which is being proposed for Beechwood North, that 2 other home associations in the Beechwood area, Beechwood South and Beechwood 2, have already proceeded with this, and a Special Services Levy was adopted by the City of Waterloo for these neighborhoods. It's my submission that the situation in Beechwood North is substantially different from the situation in those two neighborhoods for a number of reasons, which I've listed on my written outline. But the main reason is when those associations did their special services levy procedure, it was close to the time when their restrictive covenants expired. So most of the homeowners in their neighborhoods already belong to the association. In this case, it's been over 28 years since the restrictive covenants expired. So the majority of the homeowners have left the homeowners association and no longer use the pool and tennis courts and haven't been paying fees for years. In addition, in this neighborhood, a substantial part of the homeowners are senior citizens on fixed incomes. So for them, like for me and my wife, it came as quite a surprise when we heard that after all these years, the association was going to the city and asking the people who don't belong, the majority who don't belong to their association, to subsidize their association by paying the expenses for the pool and tennis courts. Now, I'm a strong advocate and believe strongly in neighborhood associations. Neighborhood associations make for safe and friendly neighborhoods and safe and friendly cities. So I can see why the city would want to support safe and friendly, would want to support neighborhood associations and safe and friendly neighbors. I just believe in this case, the main expense of the neighborhood association is the swimming pool, maintaining the swimming pool, and paying the lifeguard fees. And another difference with the other associations is that we have a very small population to support that. There are 164 homeowners in our association. And in 2015, only 65 of those homeowners belong to the association, so substantially less than half. Now, because of the small number, it means that the special service levy would be substantially higher. But in addition, unfortunately, our association has had difficulty maintaining its expenses, and it's been running deficits. In 2014, the deficit was $14,000. It's used up the reserve that it had for repairs and maintenance and replacement of the pool, and the pool's over 40 years old and is going to have to be replaced. So those are some of the reasons why I believe that the city should not approve the official vote. But another reason is, I've gone over the material, and it appears to me that this is a very expensive procedure that the city is about to undertake. And it's going to charge the homeowners association the entire fee. And I'm just wondering, can anybody give me an estimate of what that would be? Because we have an association in financial difficulty, and if you go ahead with an official vote and it doesn't go through, you're going to straddle them with quite an expense. Now, in addition to those reasons, I've reviewed the documentation that was prepared, and there are substantial errors and misleading information in the documents which would be very unfair to the majority of homeowners in the neighborhood, the Beechwood North neighborhood, who do not belong to the association. And I'd like to just go through that. If you turn to my written submissions, item 1. And if you look at the staff report to council, corporate 2016-084, and you look at recommendation number 2, it clearly states that the vote is only going to be among the homeowners of the Beechwood North Association. In other words, the people, the majority of homeowners in the Beechwood North neighborhood won't have a vote. Now, I know that's not what you intended, but it's what the documents say. And And it's what all the documents say, and I would just like to go through that. A vote by the members of the Beechwood North Homes Association, Inc. would represent less than half of the homeowners in the Beechwood North neighborhood. Again, if we look at recommendation 6 of the staff report, the council approved voting rules and procedures as drafted for Beechwood South Homes Association for conducting a vote amongst the homeowners of the Beechwood North Home Association. In other words, not for conducting the vote among the homeowners of the Beechwood North neighborhood, just the 65 homeowners in the association, leaving out the remaining homeowners in the Beechwood North Association, which is the majority. Now, you look under the executive summary on page 2 of the staff report. It states that the Beechwood North Homes Association has 164 members, including all the homes on Still Meadow Circle, Clarebrook Crescent, Park Green Place, and Beach Lawn Drive. This isn't correct. The majority of homeowners on these streets left the Beechwood North Homes Association after the restrictive covenants attached to their deeds expired on September 1st, 1988. The Beechwood North neighborhood has 164 homes, and in 2015, only 65 of these homes belong to the Beechwood North Homes Association. Then if we take a look under this document, City of Waterloo Special Area Levy, vote by mail, rules and procedures. And if we turn to the page for procedures, the second page, okay. Section 1 defines what is meant by a special area levy vote. It says a vote conducted by the City of Waterloo to determine whether the members of the Beechwood North Homes Association, not the members of the Beechwood North neighborhood, are in favor of the City of Waterloo, etc. Okay. Then if we look at the notice to property owners, Beechwood North Homes Association, Inc., proposed special levy. That's this document dated November 25th, 2016. Again, you'll notice right in the title, it's not a notice to the owners, to the homeowners in the Beechwood North neighborhood, which is defined in the documentation. It's a notice to the property owners of the Beechwood North Homes Association. So again, they're the ones that are getting the vote. I know that's not what you intended, but when you could, if you proceeded with this and approved it and sent out all this documentation, you could see why many of the majority of the homeowners in Beechwood North would look at this and say, it's not applicable to me, it's only applicable to the homeowners of the Beechwood North Homes Association, Inc. I'm not a member of the association, so I don't have to worry about this.
And Paul, you have 30 seconds left, so if you wrap up, I think you have one item left or two items.
Okay. The other thing then is, in order for a vote to have the fairness, the element of fairness that's required by the Municipal Act for elections, I believe that it would be necessary to also make financial disclosure so that the majority of homeowners in Beechwood North would understand what they're getting, what they're buying into. It's just like if you're buying a condo, it's important to know what the reserves are. And if a condominium has no reserves for repairs, maintenance, and capital replacement, it's a red flag. And in this situation, this association has no reserves and its pool is going to have to be replaced. So if you're going to send that documentation, I suggest, first I'm suggesting that you don't do it, that you're going to burden the association with the debt. But if you do decide to proceed, that you make the necessary corrections, you make it very clear to the majority of homeowners in Beechwood North that it affects them, and that you give them some financial disclosure. Thank you very much for your time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paul, for all the clarity in the written comments as well. Question? Okay. Any questions? Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Henry.
So now, Paul, I was simply going to say thank you for your time. You've raised some interesting issues, and my questions are also for staff and ahead. So probably the same one Councillor Whaley was thinking of, but if he doesn't mind, I ask him. So,
I think I don't see any further questions for the delegate. None. Seeing none. Thank you very much, Paul.
So, appreciate it. So, the first thing I'll note is that there are some questions around, finances and the rest, and I'll give notice that those are questions I intend to hear the executive respond to, knowing that they are coming up. I think that's probably the proper place for those to be responded to. But Paul, I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to perhaps the nomenclature here that Paul has raised, because it's certainly I hear his point.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. It's my understanding that all the homes in the association continue to belong to the association, regardless whether they're paying members of the pool or not. They're just not paying members of the voluntary pool section of the association. I think the executive could confirm that through their letters of patent and articles of incorporation.
So maybe we'll add that to the other list with the executive when they come up.
Further questions from Councillor Henry, or Councillor Billy, sorry.
Yeah, just to be really certain on this point, you're saying that even though they are not members, paying members, every household in this community is actually a member and will get a vote whether they're an actual paying member or not?
That is correct.
Thank you.
One of the other items the delegate brought up was on the expense of the vote and how that was paid for. Could we offer some clarity on that at this time? Or do we know as it?
I can take a stab at it, and Olga can maybe piggyback off me.
Sure, go ahead.
But I would imagine it's minimal cost relative to postage and stationery and office supplies. I would say less than $1,000, probably well less than probably 500 range.
Okay. So approximately $500 in total, approximately. Great, thank you. Hope that helps, Paul, and thank you for the information. Next up is Dennis Siddle.
Good evening, Mayor Jaworski, council members, and thank you for your service to Waterloo. Kathy and I feel like we won the lottery when we became citizens of Waterloo in 1977. We do not take this city for granted. We love it. And you know what? Just having that little vote across the border just last week really conceals why I love Waterloo so darn much. I'd like to go over about 5 topics today. One of them is who we are. Comment on the community and changes of the covenant. A little comment on the facilities and its capacity. I want to speak to the SSL and then give you some concluding remarks. With regard to who we are, Kathy and I moved here to 418 Stillwater Circle in 1980. We're now in our 37th year. There were only fields in the north and the west of us. Unbelievable. No Beechwood West, no Laurelwood, no community centers, libraries, recreation centers. We raised our family. We worked hard and long at our careers. And now, finally, we're enjoying the fruits of our labor. We're both retired and we've got wonderful grandchildren. When we purchased our home, we were informed that we were part of the covenant for 15 years, and that meant we had a legal obligation to pay yearly membership fees to the Beechwood North Homeowners Association. We did that for approximately 17 years. With the section topic on community changes in the covenant, Over the years, the families in our area grew. I love children singing to me, that doesn't bother me. The community aged and evolved. Children became adults and moved away. Many families opted out of the association. I believe there were 69 households participating last year, including associate members that they also had on. And that was definitely less than the half of the potential members. And Kathy and I are only one of the approximate 164 homes. When the covenant ran out in 1988, as Mr. Lang mentioned, it was deemed that forcing the covenant to continue to be not legal. That was established. And I'd like you to please, every council member received one of my presentations that Kathy and I prepared for you. Please see the photocopy of the section of our household deed that refers to this covenant. And then Schedule A refers to the, Schedule A number 6 refers to the part about the pool, tennis courts, and facilities, and what our responsibilities were. And you'll notice that it says, for 15 years, as of September 1973. In the years that have passed, our great city, the city that I don't take for granted, with the help of our taxes, has built an amazing recreation center on Father Edward Bauer Drive. I passed tonight, it's filled to capacity. Those little babies that are running through here and singing, they're singing in the pool right now. We've got a beautiful library recreation center on Fisher Hallman. We've got a beautiful green belt on Still Meadow. And we've got so much more in this wonderful city. Compared to no Laurelwood, no Beechwood West, none of those other facilities. With regard to the capacity, the pool at the Beechwood North Homeward Association is one of the smallest of all Beechwood associations. I work out about 70 minutes a day. I pass all of the other ones. They are huge. You can almost do laps in the pool. This facility is very, very tiny. The capacity, they say, is 50 people at one time. And then with if this ever gets passed, the pool capacity, anyone who is not a guest would be asked to leave. I feel very uncomfortable if I had a guest at a pool and I had to ask that person to leave because of the capacity. And I would feel terrible for that person. But if this does go through and we have 166 members, I can see that capacity being filled far more than it is with the 65 members that they have now. The special service levy, to be forced now to pay an additional special service levy tax of approximately $450 that they're asking you to collect yearly is on principle, in my opinion, unethical and possibly illegal. The facilities are old, will need replacing, and therefore the SSL is subject to many more increases. Many of the long-term and retired neighbors are now on fixed incomes. When the existing city facilities, all of those facilities that I've mentioned earlier, are there to serve all our community. The Beechwood North Homeward Association membership is a private club that serves very few. As I mentioned, 5 topics I'd like to follow with conclusion. We love our inclusive community. That's these people over here that are my neighbors that want the facility. Some of these people over here, we're all neighbors. I love Waterloo. I don't want this to be a wedge in between us. I want to be able to face everybody tomorrow and say this is democracy, we have free speech. There are many long-term neighbors, pioneers, that feel the same as I do. We have access to wonderful public facilities for us and all our family to use 12 months of the year. We admire, believe me, I admire the hard work and tenacity of those people who have fought to keep this private club alive and fiscally sound for the past 20 plus years, post-covenant expiration. However, it has been their choice to do so and not their legal obligation. And actually, I cannot compete with this special interest group. they're powerful, they're talented, they work hard. With respect to different needs and opinions of some neighbors, the concept of the private pool and tennis court facility has possibly outlived the concept of the 1970s. The social community aspect of the Beechwood North Homeowners Association members can always remain without the financial burden of the pool and tennis courts. If this goes to a vote, we ask that an impartial and neutral party conduct the vote with no ties whatsoever to the Beechwood North Home Association members that are paying now for the community to conduct it. And I would hope that vote, I hope the vote doesn't happen, but I hope if it does, it gets held to a very high standard, not 2/3. I feel that the pool facility with that very small special interest group is only going to be used at most for approximately 3 months. And I am very concerned to have the city hand over a great deal of decision-making power to a very strong and organized small interest group. Thank you, Council, for your time and consideration, and please protect all of our rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and thank you for being a Waterloo patriot there. That was good. Questions from Council for the delegate? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Dennis. Any questions for staff at this time? Next up is Sharon Tucker. Welcome, Sharon.
Mayor, Chambers, council members, I'm one of those residents who's lived in our neighborhood, 448 and Meadow Circle, for 17 years. I'm one of those who doesn't have kids who use the facilities anymore. I'm not here really to make a big presentation. I'm here to take 2 minutes only to tell you why I support the motion, even though none of my kids, well, if I can move them out of the house occasionally, they will get down to that pool every once in a blue moon, but I'll be honest, it's an expensive membership for us, but I am totally in support. My children are now 17 and 20. As I said, we've been in the neighborhood now 17 years. We moved in just after my son was born. However, they did grow up in the neighborhood. They learned to swim in the neighborhood. They learned to play tennis in the neighborhood. They formed some lifelong friendships while down at that pool every summer afternoon. And those are friendships that have rooted them through their teenage years and been vitally important to them. It's also at the pool where I met my neighbors. I met the people who lived on either side of me, across the street, and around the block. Many of these people become my lifelong friends. It's because I met my neighbors at that pool that I was comfortable when my kids decided that they wanted to spread their wings a little bit and head out in the neighborhood without me in tow. And I'm sure those of you who are mothers will know how much that hurts. We like to keep them under our wing. But because I knew my neighbors, I knew they would be under someone else's wing. Because I met my neighbors at the pool. I got to know them, I got to chat with them while my kids were swimming. So I felt comfortable that my kids would be safe without me hovering over top of them. The community that I live in is one where we have a great sense of safety. We have a great sense of community. And that is rooted in what happened at that community pool. And you cannot put a price on that. I cannot put a price on the sense of safety that that pool has provided for me. And I really hope that these people sitting here with the young families are going to be able to enjoy that as I enjoyed it. The community that I live in is one where I know that when I was younger with my kids on the school bus, if I got stuck in traffic, my neighbor or somebody in that neighborhood association was going to take my kids off the school bus and make sure that they were safe, that they got to a safe place, and even if it was just 2 minutes, they would have a safe home. And again, that has been rooted in what happens and takes place at that pool. If my car is broken, or if my teenager takes off with my car. More likely the case these days. There's always a neighbor there who can take me to that appointment that has to be seen to, or in many cases has loaned me their vehicle. Or if my car is not around and I have to go get a kid who's sick at school, there's a neighbor there who will loan me their car to do that. Again, this is rooted in everything that happened at that pool 17 years ago. My neighborly support system is strongly rooted in that community facility. And even though my children no longer make use of the facilities, I want to make sure that the younger families in my neighborhood get to take advantage of the benefits that were available to me. I'm pleased and I am proud to support neighbors in my community. As a parent of a child with a disability, I have many, many, many calls upon my resources financially. However, I am more than willing to make the sacrifice in other areas that it takes to make sure that my neighbors get to experience the exact same sense of community and support that I was so good that was given to me 17 years ago. And I urge you, please, to take the first step towards making this community spirit viable for the next 20, 30, or 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Questions for the delegation? Excuse me. Seeing none. Thank you. Next up, Rob Theodosio. Welcome, Rob.
I know I work this table too, so I go up and down here.
Yeah,
I've been here enough times. Yeah, I've been there a couple times. Council, Mayor, thanks for having this evening. Before we start on, this is my neighborhood, I want to first kind of applaud a group of people that have taken this kind of bridge that takes our community and bridges us all together. In the last 4 or 5 years, have taken this pool and made it something that was almost a vacant lot. So I want to take the time where these people have, spent weekends raking leaves, plowing sidewalks, bottle drives, pumpkin drops off. So there's a group of people that pretty much made this their full-time job on top of taking their kids. And I just want to take a moment to clap my hands for them because we made it here for them. So this isn't about us versus them or the one side of the street versus the other side of the street. I've lived here my entire life, born and raised here on all parts of the city of Waterloo, from Bluevale to, Beechwood North to Lincoln Village. And the one thing that really attracted me to come to this is that we have a mission statement on our website, and it was built a long time ago. And I feel like those statements of integrity and community and association, and one thing for sure is fairness. This isn't about holding, a strong hold of, the remarks we're hearing about that's hold us to a strong remark. This is just about fairness, right? And what the city of Waterloo stands for. And I'm seeing a lot of houses being sold from people in our community, and I see the professionals coming in this community for one reason. And it's the tightness that's being created lately of what's happening. And we need to take that and, the progression that's happening in the city of Waterloo the last 5, 6, 7 years is the progression that's happening in this community. And when some of you have been kind of pounding the street for votes to get nominated, I see you guys at our picnics. I see you guys at our community barbecues. And it's a very friendly community. We're shaking hands, and it's a community where you can probably leave your kid there for a couple of hours and they're going to be hugged and taken care of. So, there's a lot for us to think about here, but I didn't sit here and talk about financials because this is not a business. They don't have an HST number and balance sheet every month. Okay? They don't have a CA that researches all this stuff. So to talk about lifeguards and pool degradation, I just think that's just nonsense. Right? We inherited a problem that, there was a covenant 17 years, and then it fell off. Okay? And we're trying to save something really great for what columns and piers of what the city of Waterloo stands for. And I think that if we neglect this now, and we've gotten to this stage, I think that not giving the chance to push this vote and see what happens is the best thing for us to do. Because of us as, equality and fairness, what do we have to lose? Right? It's $1 a day and you're going to be added to your taxes. I think of a lot worse things that we spend $1 a day. So, yeah, there's maybe, a humming of kids in the background, because I know that the humming of kids in the background 20 years ago talked about that pool and talked about their neighbors and talked about those Christmas parties and say, hey, how's it going? How can I help you out? Because that was the nucleus of what the community is built around. And I think that we need to keep that nucleus and we need to re-water that seed and make it grow again. Because right now we haven't re-watered that seed in a couple of years. And it's a small community of 164. We need to make the boundaries, right? We just inherited those. But we are making a pretty good job. If we don't push forward, I do think you'll see a vacant lot. Because there's only so much sweat and hours the community can put in. And then from there, it's not calling it quits. It's just saying, hey, we tried. And that's kind of like our last kick in the bucket to see if how much water we can pour on this seed to see how we can make it grow. And I hope we can all take a look at that and just, put the legal terms away, because it only makes true common sense of what the City of Waterloo stands for and what we're trying to do. I think they're silhouetted each other. So I kind of leave it at that, and I hope the best interest of the community goes forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Questions for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you. Next up is Shelley Murphy. Welcome. Welcome, Shelley.
Thanks, Rob, for lifting the table. My name is Shelley Murphy, and I've been a resident of Beechwood North for 12 years. Just to state, I am in favor of a city-wide led or a city-led vote for an SSL. But today I'm here to tell you about the journey that Beechwood North Homes Association, otherwise known as BNHA, has taken over the past 6 years. The following timeline that I'm going to explain is a timeline of events which include 1, a community's recognition that our association and facility is financially unstable. 2, the quest for alternative funding options. 3, the discovery of our neighbors' vision for the future. And 4, a majority community support for an SSL special services line. It all started back over 6 years ago when a prior BNHA executive began investigating and inquiring about an SSL process and the viability of an SSL for BNHA. This was due to significant financial concerns back in 2012 and worry for our future. Then, in 2012, that same prior executive attempted a straw vote to determine if there was enough support for an SSL in Beechwood North. At that time, in 2012, approximately 16 volunteers canvassed and completed a winter door-to-door canvass to further educate the community about BNHA's financial crisis and ask if there was support for an SSL. Hundreds of hours, volunteer hours, in snowstorms, knocking on 164 doors was accomplished. The result, however, was inconclusive because the job was much harder than the group had anticipated, and reaching all homeowners and obtaining a vote from each was not possible at that time. 2 years later, in 2014, a new executive was voted in, including myself. At that February 2014 AGM, it was clear there was still financial instability and concerns for BNHA's ability to operate moving forward into the future. Relying on voluntary memberships, knocking on doors, begging for money from neighbors was no longer working. Volunteers were exhausted, the facility was in need of repair, and memberships were declining. It was then that an alternative funding committee was formed to look into other future alternatives for funding alternatives for BNHA. The committee was opened for anyone to join, no executive members, and it was voted on to commence work ASAP. 1 month later, in March 2014, an SGM was held to specifically inquire, seek feedback, and generate ideas on what this whole community wanted for its future. The new executive wanted to know what BNHA's future looked like from a community's perspective. We wanted to know what the community dreamed of for its future and to make goals to deliver that vision. The new executive was determined to create a cohesive, multi-generational community, nurture our current assets, and create new assets that would engage all people in our neighborhood. However, again, the issue of financial viability at our facility was a significant concern that was highlighted by a great majority of attendees. 1 year later, at the 2015 SGM, the Alternative Funding Committee presented 1 year's worth of research and new knowledge on alternative fundings for BNHA. This also included the SSL. Their PowerPoint presentation included pros and cons and the research behind many possible alternatives. This team had completed hundreds of research hours. At this AGM, a majority vote determined that the SSL was the most preferred and viable alternative funding model for BNHA. A vote concluded that the Alternative Funding Committee would move forward, focusing their efforts on researching and understanding the process and steps for an SSL. For 1 year between 2014 to 2016, the Alternative Funding Committee, newly referred to as the SSL Committee, researched the process of the SSL. They met with the city, other associations with SSLs, reviewed legal documents, completed asset audits, gathered quotes, generated spreadsheets, and as of today have spent over 300 hours dedicated to learning the process of the SSL and how it could be viable for BNHA. This February 2016, at the AGM, a discussion was again held about the SSL and the significant knowledge learned by the SSL committee. We needed to know now if an SSL was really what the community wanted. At this AGM, a majority vote determined that the community would in fact move forward with the first official step of the SSL process and complete a straw vote to see if BNHA had 2/3 support for an SSL. The result of this straw vote would inform our next steps. This spring, 2016, a team of over 20 volunteers were trained on SSL information, completed a door-to-door canvas to advise, to advise the community of the continued financial crisis that BNHA was facing, to educate each homeowner of the process, to answer SSL questions, and to obtain a paper ballot indicating each homeowner's position on an SSL. Out of 164 homes, 160 ballots were received. This was an amazing feat. Some canvassers returned to the same home up to 10 times to provide info, find homeowners, answer questions, and obtain a vote. The team hired translators for non-English speaking homes, coordinated Skype meetings, used emails, visited homeowners in person for hours, spoke on the phone, tracked down absentee homeowners and rental owners to ensure that every voice was heard and every vote possible was completed. The results were that 67%, 2/3, of BNHA community members are in support of an SSL. The reasons for support varied, but included seeing the facility as an asset to their property value, the facility being an important part of the community, the use of the facility, the importance of family and children in the neighborhood, the vibrancy of the community, and that the facility is a unique asset to our neighborhood. Whatever the reason, the community voice has spoken that a powerful majority wants an SSL. What we know. We know that we have a pool and tennis courts in our community that need a viable financial solution moving forward into the future. That the long-term planning and vision for the pool and tennis courts was not considered 40 years ago when the neighborhood was designed, but it's on us to find a solution that works. We know that our current door-to-door begging for money is not working. We know, as a fact, that an SSL is what the strong majority of this community wants. We're not asking to build a pool and tennis courts. We're talking about saving an existing community asset that people want to protect. We know that the community voice has driven these decisions to continue this process. We know, and over 6 years of actions have occurred to bring us to where we are today. We know that our community has consistently been asked to be part of this process, to attend AGMs, SGMs, share your vision, join a committee, and have a voice about your future. We know that we've gone above and beyond with trying to reach all community members to attend meetings, giving advance notice, emails, social media, flyers, door-to-door knocking. Come have your voice be heard. We know that current voluntary memberships are not an indicator of an SSL support in our community. But we have learned through the straw vote that the pool and courts are assets that people in this community hold dear and are willing to stand up for. We know that once financial stability is established in our community, that the hundreds and hundreds of hours that neighbors have put into finding financial solutions, canvassing and membership drives, can then be put towards creating a cohesive and supportive multi-generational community. Imagine what all this passion and energy can create for our neighborhood's future. I'm before you today on behalf of the strong majority of our community, asking simply for a city-led SSL vote. A city-led vote will give us a formal voice to our community and allow us all to determine our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Any questions for the delegate here? Councilor Hyman.
Just wondering, Shelley, whether you want me to hold the financial questions for Katerina when she comes out.
Yes, my friend Katerina.
Katerina, I had it right the first time, sorry. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thanks. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, I should have done this earlier, but there's at least 2 people here who have little families, and if you want to get them to bed, if I can always bump you up on the list if you're so inclined, you want to put up your hand? No, you're welcome. The kids are welcome here too, but I just figure you might want to get going. If that's the case, do you want to come up now, or do you have somebody else presenting?
If nobody has any objections, I would speak. Yes.
Can I?
Thank you.
We use security guards to protect City Hall from the kids out there. It's okay. Just let them go. It's kind of like the Beechwood North Pool. Just let them go for a minute. Oh, we have a little delegate too. Well, please, little delegate, state your name. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Oh, and could you state your name so I know who you're?
Yes, my name is Melissa Davis Kapka, and this is my daughter, Julia Kapka.
You were next on the list anyway. Well, I'm glad I was so magnanimous with the time.
I apologize, I'm kind of suffering a cold here, but I'll just read what we've kind of put here. I've kind of sat down and really thought about what does this SSL mean to us, and just kind of laid out what we have here. And for our family, the pool and tennis courts represent far more than just a neighborhood recreational space that can be easily substituted by any number of other recreational sports clubs in the area. For our family, it is a central meeting point that helps to create a strong and respectful neighborhood built on camaraderie and thus creating an actual community. My husband and I decided to move to Canada 3 years ago because we wanted to raise our children in a country that would tie together our multinational family and give us a shared identity and a citizenship that reflected our core family values: respect for diversity, peace, community engagement, being a good person, and doing good for others. The decision to move to Waterloo and to buy a home specifically in Beechwood North was also taken with the same criteria in mind. We wanted to live in a vibrant community that was safe and welcoming. Since moving to Beechwood North less than 2 years ago, we were immediately welcomed to the community, and through participation in the pool and tennis courts, we were able to quickly get to know our neighbors and build connections. In this very short time, we felt truly welcome to the community and really part of the community. The community area with the pool and tennis courts provides a unique way
for our neighbors to build strong connections and in turn, a healthy and safe community for our family. Having a community that creates engagement and builds a common ground of trust and respect is a cornerstone of having a healthy society. The Beechwood North pool and tennis courts are the catalyst for turning a neighborhood into a strong community. And just for my family, and I know for the others, I just, somebody mentioned in the beginning the U.S. elections, and I hate to pull politics into this, but I'm actually an American, and it's a really tough decision to see what's happening to your country. It's heartbreaking, actually. Honestly, I actually have pneumonia as a result of all the stress of watching my country fall, let me tell you, and that's from the heart. But for the opportunity for me and my husband to raise our children in this vibrant community, in this wonderful community, and in this wonderful neighborhood, this is a huge thing for us. And I just really, from our heart and from our family, I plead to the council to honestly think very hard and to give us your vote to allow this official vote to go through for the SSL. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Melissa. Good questions for the delegate who has children to put to bed. Seeing none, thank you very much. Now, was there another family here that needed to get going or anything like that? I saw somebody in and out. No?
My wife took them.
Oh, no. So you'll just wait your turn. Good for that. Next up is actually Katarina. Katarina, you're up.
Hello, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Katarina Longcar, and my family moved into the Beechwood North neighborhood about 5 years ago. I was one of the members on the alternate funding task force, and I did a lot of the calculations for it. So any types of financial questions that you may have for me, I'm very happy to answer. So I wanted to, I guess, touch on a few of the comments that were made earlier and see if I can answer some of the questions. Financial disclosure, for example. So part of the process for the alternate funding task force is we needed to understand exactly how much, if we were to go, we looked at a bunch of different alternatives as Shelley mentioned, but if we were to go the SSL route, we really needed to understand exactly how much it was going to cost the neighborhood. So we underwent a very detailed analysis of all of our capital assets, both big and small. We listed them all out. We determined what their useful life was, what is their total life, what's left of their life. We try to figure out how much it would cost, and then we projected out to 15 years. We have those numbers. We projected the operating budget going forward. So based on those calculations, and they are quite detailed, I can assure you, because I am a very detailed individual, and with a lot of backup. We're basing our SSL fees on $399 a year plus HST. So it's the $399 minus the 1% admin fee that will be coming back to the association to help pay for all of our costs. So of that amount, 56% will actually be used towards operating costs, the annual operating costs, and 44% will be put into a capital fund. Right now, we have no money in our capital fund whatsoever, and we have an aging facility, and one day we will need to replace the pool and the tennis courts. So with the 15-year model, we will save enough money with this particular SSL fee. We'll need to increase it by 1.3% every year starting in year 3 to do so. But we'll have enough money to potentially, if needed, replace our pool, the tennis courts, and a lot of our smaller assets, repair or replace them. So the planning was done to ensure that we have enough funds to do this, and the fee is kept as low as possible. In terms of one of the comments made, who will pay for the expense of the vote, I will personally pay for it out of my pocket if that's what it takes. The association does not have a lot of money, and I will pay for it, and I'm not the only volunteer that will. So that will not be an issue at all. The pool capacity. So one of the questions came up about pool capacity. So we do have 164 homes, but one thing we realized when we were doing our canvas was that we live in a multi-generational community. So not everybody has the same needs. So I believe that even with 164 homes on the SSL and with access to the pool, the capacity at any one time is 50 people. And right now, with the membership that we have, we are well below that number at any given point in time. But the question was raised, what happens if the pool does reach capacity? And the answer is, Only at that time will guests be asked to leave. The homeowners can stay because they are paying for it. But the likelihood of that happening, given our intergenerational community, is very low. Children use the pool at different times than adults do, and we actually specifically have adult times as well. Under the special services levy, right now, one of the comments was that it's a membership and it's an exclusive club. Yes, the members have access to the pool, but under the special services levy, every single homeowner will have access to that facility. And every single homeowner will have a vote. They will be able to attend the AGM. The concern that was raised was there's a great deal of decision-making power with a small group of organized individuals. I can tell you that we are very organized and we're very passionate about our cause, and we have done a lot of research. However, if you are a voting member, as you will be with the SSL, then every homeowner should come to the AGM and let their voice be heard. And if you do not agree with how the direction of the association is going, that is your time to speak, is at the AGM. So all people will have a voice then. So I'm just trying to answer a lot of those questions. So one thing I want to note as well is that the current model is not sustainable. So as Shelley mentioned, there has been a lot of volunteer hours put into knocking on doors and trying to gather money for memberships. It's begging your neighbors, and it's not pleasant. And I want to experience my neighbors in a different way. And I have to say that there has been an extraordinarily large amount of time and effort put into the membership drives and the fundraising and the special services levy process. And what I'm feeling here is that our volunteers right now have a lot of energy. They are burnt out. But if we were to channel even some of that energy towards building our community, I can only imagine what kind of a community we will have. We can create one of the strongest and most vibrant multi-generational communities given the chance to channel some of that energy towards that cause. And it's like a car in first gear. Like, we have a strong community as it is, but if you put a little bit more energy, people will become passionate, they'll start working together, and then we'll end up having a much stronger community in the future. We have a lot of talent in our neighborhood, and we have a lot of energy in our neighborhood, and it would be great if we can focus that on something different than fundraising and membership drives. One other point I'd like to make is that the original homeowners, I understand that they're elderly or they're aging. One of the things to note that even whether they're paying for membership fees or not, one of the things to note is that when they do put their house for sale, they will always list that there's a pool and a tennis court in the neighborhood. And the people that are drawn to those listings many times are, as Rob said, professionals or families in particular. And it is a changing demographic. Right now we have a multi-generational community, and I would love to see everything working, all of us working together. As new people move into the neighborhood, the makeup will change, but I think we can still maintain that strong community. But despite the people that do not pay for memberships, they do recognize that the pool and tennis court are an asset, and they are using it or wanting it to increase the value of their home, which it certainly does. One of the things that was also made is that we've had lots of deficits. That's actually absolutely true. The last 2 years, the current executive have made tremendous effort to decrease our costs. So in fiscal 2015, we achieved a $7,981 surplus, and that was reported at the AGM in the spring of 2016. In fiscal 2016, which is this current year, our projected surplus is about $500. The profit has gone down simply because we weren't able to raise as much money through fundraising efforts as we were hoping, and the makeup of the memberships changed from fewer families to more adult, which were slightly lower fees as well. The previous years did have deficits, and some of them were significant, but we have made strides to ensure that we are running a very viable facility, and we are doing everything we can to ensure that's the same way going forward. And in terms of the 3 months a year comment, you can only have a pool and tennis court for 3 months a year. That's true. However, there are other ways to engage the community. One thing that we do, for example, we have a community ice rink in the wintertime that anybody can use, and that is run strictly by volunteers. And there are other things, there are other types of programs that we could potentially implement for our multi-generational community, given the time and the money and the effort. So it's just, all we need is to have that time and to have the voice of the community tell us what they would like, and we can try and implement that if that is what people want. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Katarina. And I think Councilor Henry has questions.
I'd say only that you were very thorough on responding to what you heard. So what I'd heard from previous delegations on the finance side for the CapEx spend, where the OpEx sits, the surplus deficit piece and the forecast for fees into the future, you covered the questions that I'd heard raised by other delegates. So I don't have anything left for you on those. So I appreciate your diligence in noting the same things I was noting to incorporate into your remarks.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I think we're good. Thank you. Next up is Bob Kalflesh.
My name is Bob Kalfleisch, and I'm a resident of Beechwood North. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in favor of staff's recommendation regarding the special services levy vote for Beechwood North Homes Association. First, I want to extend my sincere thanks to you, your worship, and to the council for your patience, understanding, and support as we, as a Waterloo neighborhood, work our way through the process of considering various methods of achieving a sustainable funding mechanism for our neighborhood association. Also, I want to thank and recognize Mr. Tim Anderson and the Waterloo City staff who have worked very hard with our association executives in order to get us to this milestone point this evening. Our association executive, both the current executive and past executives, have worked tirelessly over the years. Thank you. And lastly, thank you to our neighbors, both those who support the concept of an SSL and those who oppose the idea. We have a great neighborhood. Not everyone will agree, but we do respect each other, and we try to find common ground as we move forward. Our family moved to Beechwood North in 1979. Like many other long-term residents, our family grew up in this safe, friendly, and beautiful community. The most visible features of our vibrant community, as you heard, are our tennis courts and the swimming pool, along with a winter skating rink and some beautiful parkland. Our neighborhood kids do love the pool. But a strong association is more than the visible features. First and foremost, it is the people, our neighbors. However, as a Waterloo community, we need to maintain our assets, and this takes stable funding. Back in the day, when we, the original homeowners, bought our homes, it was clear in our deeds that membership in the Homes Association was mandatory, and we gladly paid the annual fee. Yes, our family was at the pool more than we were at home, at least so it seemed. And the pool continues to be a major gathering place every summer for the neighborhood. Back then, Monarch Homes built and gave the pool and tennis courts to the neighborhood. Monarch Homes also founded the association that was subsequently charged in its mandate and bylaws to maintain these facilities. With all homeowners as fee-paying members, that original funding model was sustainable. However, as you've heard, the covenant in our deeds was challenged and mandatory fees ended. However, in my opinion, the benefits of having the association and its assets continue to accrue benefits to all Beechwood North neighbors, regardless if one pays the annual fee or not. Much like schools, public transit, and roads, we all pay our fair share, regardless if we have kids in school, ride the buses ourselves, or drive on all the roads. It is what we do to have a great country, a great province, and a great city in which we live. For all of us to continue to enjoy our safe, friendly neighborhood, we need to accept responsibility and support a strong and vibrant neighborhood association. It does not matter if it is our children who learn to swim at the pool. It does not matter if I can no longer play or enjoy the tennis courts. What does matter is that the association remains strong and the facilities are maintained in top shape for all of us and for our neighbors of the future. I enjoy seeing the kids run to and from the school bus stops every day. They are no longer our kids, but they are still our neighborhood kids. I enjoy seeing families pack their wagon with swimming gear and head to the pool. Today, that is no longer our family heading up Beach Lawn Drive, but is still our neighborhood families. At the recent public meeting that you heard about to discuss the SSL option, we listened with respect to several neighbors express concern that they have paid fees for years and felt that it was now time for others to absorb the full cost. I trust I have clearly expressed my belief that having a strong, vibrant neighborhood and association does not end when we no longer directly use the facilities. This is part of the fabric of our neighborhood. It is an ongoing responsibility we all share as citizens of Waterloo and particularly of Beechwood North. At the same public meeting, some longtime residents, now seniors, talked about the potential hardship of the additional expense. May I suggest that such concern is best addressed within the framework of the proposed SSL. As an example, many of us here this evening may know that in order to maintain our strong agricultural industry in Ontario, all Ontario farmers are required by law to be members of a general farm organization and pay an annual fee. However, if a farmer, for valid reasons, chooses not to be a member of that general farm organization, he or she can apply to that farm organization and get a partial or full refund of the fee. While our situation may be different, I think that the principle can apply. I would ask that our association executive continue to work with city staff, if that's appropriate, to find a workable solution. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I support for your consideration the recommendations and next steps as set out by city staff.
Thank you very much, Bob. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none? Thank you very much. We've hit the halfway mark. Team, Mr. Joe Kapka is up next.
Hi folks, my name is Joe Kapka. First I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and also for your patience with our family's marathon that we've been running in your back seats here. I want to start off with just introducing my family a little bit. You heard from my wife Melissa earlier, and what she forgot to mention, or perhaps didn't mention, was that we chose Waterloo globally. We were living in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, when we realized we were going to go from a two-person family to a three-person family. And I had gone to school at Waterloo, but had since left and traveled the world and gone very many places. And out of our place in Amsterdam, we considered down the street, New Zealand, and literally the globe. And we chose Waterloo. And it was really a bit of a gamble, and it's a gamble that we feel we won. And out of Waterloo, we landed in this Beechwood neighborhood. So it is really a choice out of the entire world, and we are happy with that choice. But I want to talk to you a little bit differently about sort of what's been presented. I think some people have alluded at the concept of this pool and tennis court and the SSL, and how it's paying the SSL as a membership fee into the pool and the tennis court. But really it's the asset component that we haven't fully discussed, I believe. And if we just focus on that for a minute and think of the asset and the rights and responsibilities that one has with an asset. This isn't a gym that we pay membership to and we can choose to go to or not to go to every year. We're not paying access to someone else's property. This is an asset that we share as a neighborhood. And the rights and the responsibilities that come with an asset need to be thought about. So the responsibilities, let's look at those first, are fairly simple. The responsibility is to maintain the asset and to keep it healthy, to keep it worth its value. The rights are a bit interesting. The first right is one we hear a lot about. It is the right to access. You can access the pool and access the tennis courts, and you can go there as much as you want. However, the other right is the right of transferability. You have the right to transfer that first right of access to a new homeowner. And that in itself creates a lot of value. So I'm a math guy, and I like to think about what kind of value is that. So let me just do a little thought experiment with you. And let's look at an average home value, and I'm being, let's say, cautious here, but let's call the average home price right now in that neighborhood to be $500,000. If I do the math, the price of the SSL, let's peg it at $400, is 0.08% of the home value. So if that home value grows by 1% by having this asset, it's worth paying this SSL fee for 12 years and you still make a profit. So without ever accessing any of the pool or the tennis court. And I think I'm being really, really pessimistic about how much value this pool and tennis court add to someone's home and to the price that they're, or rather the amount they're going to receive. Because I see how houses are changing hands in our neighborhoods, and let's just say that a for sale sign doesn't stay up very long without the sold sticker on it. So I don't want to take up more of your time, but what I would say is please think about that math and think about the fact that most of us believe in that math. And all the rest that my neighbors have expressed. There's a lot going on here. However, if someone doubts that math, I would urge you to go and look through previous home listings in all of Beechwood that has the pool and the tennis court access, and see how many of them forgot to mention the community pool when they were selling their house.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Great to know you have a math degree, and great to hear yet again. Surrounded by engineers over on this side of the horseshoe, so good to hear, Matthew. And great to hear that you chose from Amsterdam to come here to Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. That's a great, great story. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none, I think you'll need a ride home since your car probably drove away with your family. I could probably take you home.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
One of your friendly neighbors.
Next up, Mr. Dave Castell. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening. I'm the treasurer of the Beechwood 2 Homes Association, so I'm here in a way as the ghost of Christmas future. We were a friendly ghost. We were the first association. I was on a subcommittee that also looked into funding, similar to what Kat talked about with Beechwood North. And we actually talked to the president at the time of Beechwood North and had heard about their funding problems already at that point in time. So we pioneered this, I guess, in a way, and we've been on the SSL program now for probably close to 10 years. And I attended the last public meeting. Boy, it brought back a lot of memories. We had also a very vocal no contingent. They made up flyers and distributed to the neighborhood, and we had the formal vote, and it was a close vote. But we did not become a community divided or a neighborhood divided as some suggested we would. We moved forward, and it's all been great. We've found this SSL to be an invaluable tool to provide stable funding for a volunteer-run organization to run the operations and to contribute to the capital fund. I know there's some talk of, oh, this is an asset that will need to be replaced. I can speak to, I've been treasurer for probably the last 6 years. We've been contributing to our capital fund, and over the past many years we've renewed our pool. We've just about everything you can replace with the pool, other than the shell, although the shell has been torn apart and rebuilt in ways. We've done all the plumbing, the pool decking, the pool lighting, the pool wiring, all the pipes underground back to the pool house, the pool heater and the sand filters as well. And without any major fee increases or capital assessments or surprises along the way. Indeed, at the last AGM, we proposed our first fee increase in about 5 years, and we had about double the turnout, and I saw a lot of gray hair, and I was really worried about what was happening. It was the neighbors coming to make sure that there was a unanimous vote to supply this funding to get the improvements done, and which we completed in this past year. So it's all been a great news story for us. We had a very similar process back at the beginning, about 10 or 11 years ago, and from the future perspective, it's been great, and I welcome our neighbor to join the fold with us and our other neighbor, Beechwood South, who also joined this method of funding. It's been great. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Questions for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming out, giving your perspective, and having known you for 16 years, I would say our hair isn't as jet black as it used to be either. So. Next up, Andrew Lang, and I think we have a presentation from Andrew. Thank you very much. Point that up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the council members. So I'm an associate professor at the University of Waterloo, but today I am here as a father and as a resident of the Beechwood North Homes Association. And most importantly, I'm here as a member that has volunteered countless hours, and not as many as many of the people here, but I am a volunteer that tries to, I believe in the initiatives that the Homes Association is pushing, and pushing is not the wrong word, so that they support. And so I'm here as a volunteer as well. So as part of my family, I try to be the sensible one. And so I don't necessarily let my emotions rule my decisions. And so when thinking about this issue, I took the same approach. And when developing or being involved in policy or committee work, I found it's always helpful to develop guiding principles. And these guiding principles provide a framework upon which to assess and integrate all the different perspectives related to that issue. So for the guiding principles, I didn't think about my own perspectives, and I'm going to try and divorce my own perspective from what I present today. I thought about what sort of objective measures could we really use to help focus these conversations. So I went to the actual city of Waterloo, and I looked at the strategic plan for the city of Waterloo from 2015 to 2018. And within that plan, there are 6 key strategic priorities. And although I enjoy the entire document and can pen you on it, there's one particular priority that is most appropriate to talk about today. And that's the 3rd priority, and that relates to developing and building strong community. And so what does strong community mean? And so I have a feeling of what it means to me, but I want to know what it means to the city. So if you look within the document itself, the goal of the Strong Committee or Strong Community Initiative is that the City of Waterloo collaborates with others to build a community where our diverse population have a strong sense of belonging and are active and engaged in community life. And that represents the initiatives and the goals of the Beechwood North Homes Association. So let's look within the objectives of that particular strategic priority. And the objective is to develop, the first objective anyways, is to develop a neighborhood strategy focused on harnessing social capital to increase neighborhood vibrancy and resident leadership. And again, everything within there, the social capital is capitalizing on the strengths and the experience and the expertise and the energies of our collective neighbors to try and affect positive change and create a community where everyone feels safe, included, and happy. So within the neighborhood strategy, if you drill down even deeper, the first comment on your website related to neighborhood strategy states that strong, connected, and vibrant neighborhoods are beneficial to individuals and, more importantly, to communities as a whole. And that's an important argument here, is we have to think about this not as an individual perspective, but what's best for the overall community itself. We know the best neighborhoods initiatives are resident-led, but we also know that the city can play a role. And this again couples exactly what we're talking about here today. The residents are leading this initiative, they're volunteering their time, and we're asking for assistance from the city, not to fund anything, but to facilitate the process of going to the next step and asking for a formal vote. So let's think about this then from a guiding principle perspective. So city-supported initiatives such as the one we're talking about today, based on the materials that you've generated, should support the City of Waterloo's key priority of building strong community, and it should also help build strong, connected, and vibrant neighborhoods. Now, the Beechwood North Homes Association exemplifies these guiding principles, and it's for that reason that I think that the benefits of the association are unassailable. I haven't heard anyone say a single thing that suggests that the Homes Association provides any sort of problems or is a negative for the community. It is a benefit, and nobody, I think, will disagree with that. The only issue at hand is what's the funding model to support this beneficial association moving forward. And that brings us to then this particular initiative, a report 84. And so I'm going to talk for the next two slides just about my perspectives, and not even my perspective, but some general perspectives about why I believe council should support this particular report and the recommendations within the report. First of all, the neighborhoods were designed with this purpose in mind. They were designed with these community resources as a centerpiece to bring community together. Despite the fact that the funding model has changed and the covenants expired for whatever reasons themselves, ignoring the fact that these communities were designed with this as a centerpiece, it throws away an asset potentially down the road. There are 12 associations in the Beechwood area. They were designed for this perspective. The developers constructed them this way for a purpose. And initially, all Beechwood North Association members paid into this model. So there's a precedent here already. There's existing community support for this particular initiative. As you've heard, volunteers spent hundreds and hundreds of hours, a lot of them with small families. They're taking time away from those families to try and support the initiatives moving forward. The vote itself, the informal vote that took place in April, was a resounding success based on the work that neighborhood members put in. 98% of homes were reached. They got a response. That's 160 out of 164 homes, and that's because of the effort that were installed. 80% of those homes provided a decisive answer either way, yes or no. And the important thing is here is 80% of decided voters supported approving an SSL. So the 66 or 67% was thrown around early. That included undecided voters who hadn't made up their mind and the 4 houses that weren't able to be reached. But 80% of decided voters supported an SSL. And there's a number of people here that are not in support, and those perspectives are absolutely valid. The fact that we have some disagreement within our community is fine. We expect to diverse, and it makes our neighborhoods not boring. And so that's not a problem. But in general, there is overwhelming support for this particular initiative, and the data cannot be denied in this case. From the perspective of council, there's little risk in accepting our recommendations of the report. The report does not suggest that council approve a funding model. It doesn't suggest that the council or city provide any funding. Rather, all this is asking is, or all the recommendations suggest is that they approve a formal vote. That's all it is. There's our precedents exist for this, and that, again, there's little risk here. There are, again, 12 neighborhood associations. Recently, 2 neighborhoods have gone through the exact same process that we're talking about, Beechwood 2 and Beechwood South. So again, council isn't going out on a limb in supporting these recommendations. There's precedents that exist. On the contrary, not approving these recommendations sets a dangerous precedent. Hundreds and hundreds of hours have been spent on the process to date. We have worked hand in hand with the city, following the recommendations and the procedures that they set out. At this point, saying no for, I can't even imagine the reason why the council will not approve just simply moving forward to a formal vote. It sets a dangerous precedent about the value that council puts on communities and neighborhoods themselves. More important though, the leadership that the Beechwood North Homes Association has represented here and the hours they put in would be for naught. And I think that you would get a number of despondent residents within your community who feel as though their efforts haven't been respected. The last point here is that, again, we're not asking council to support or make a ruling whatsoever about the direction it's taking. All we're asking is for self-determination. And if it turns out from a formal vote that there is not enough support for the SSL moving forward, then that's fine with me. I'm absolutely rooted in the fact this is a democratic process. Let us self-determine what the results of this particular process are. So to quickly conclude here, it's absolutely unassailable that the Beechwood North Association provides value to our community, and it meets and aligns with the key strategic priorities set out by council. There's been substantial investment by Beechwood North Homes Association in this process, not only within the last year, but over the past 5 years to try and come up with the best course of action. We've worked with the city on this initiative, so it's not as though we're presenting something that's absolutely new or novel. We've worked with city staff to come up with the process. Precedents exist, Beechwood 2 and Beechwood South. We had a delegation from Beechwood 2 already. There's existing community support. Again, 80% of decided voters support this particular going forward with an SSL. And again, this is an exercise in council letting, or would be an exercise in us letting to self-determine the future of the Homes Association. This is simply a way for you to facilitate that self-determination. So, again, I've tried to divorce my personal perspectives from this, but there are people involved here as well. So in driving my son over this morning, he asked what we were doing and I explained the situation. He's a 5-year-old boy. And he said, at the end of it, I said, what do you think? And he said, I think the mayor, and sorry, he doesn't understand what councillors are, so he only spoke about the mayor. So he said, I think the mayor will support the vote. And I said, well, how come? He said, because if he doesn't, I won't have a place to spend my summers with my friends. And that's the perspective of a 5-year-old boy. I've tried to divorce the family part of it from others have talked more eloquently about what it means to be a member of that community and what the Homes Association means to them. But at the end of the day, my 5-year-old boy, I would love for him to have a place for him to feel safe and spend time with his community members throughout the course of his childhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for quoting our City of Waterloo strategic plan. For all those in the crowd who probably now want a copy, they're flying off the shelves with the private. Any questions for the delegate at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much, Andrew. Next up is Barry Cull. Barry, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I feel grateful for having an opportunity to speak to you today. I, like many of my fellow neighbors here, have been a long-term resident of Beechwood North Homes Association. I was 28 years this month, actually, and in the 1990s, the early 90s, I was actually the president of Beach North Homes Association. And that was just after the covenant came off. So we scrambled those few years in the 90s, trying to come up with some funding models and some initiatives that would keep people in. We weren't successful. You've heard that history. I'm not going to go over that history with you. We've tried things like associate memberships, grandparent memberships, which my wife and I now consider ourselves part of the grandparent clan. The other thing that's happened, that last presentation, it just brought back all kinds of trepidation for me. I recently retired this summer as a professor, and I now consider myself a recovering academic. So I don't have the PowerPoints for you. So I think there was a very important question that was raised at the last meeting that we had, the last public meeting. And the question was posed near the end of the evening. It was, tell me, what do I get out of this? If I pay this levy, what's in it for me? That's a really important question. It's not one that we can just gloss over and say, well, there's a tennis court, and there's a pool, and there's arts and crafts for the kids, and all of that sort of stuff. Because in this case, the person was like myself, retired, and had been in the neighborhood, I think, way longer than me, somewhere around 30 or 40 years as a member of the community. So it's an important question. And one of the things that I have been thinking about in terms of answering that question for myself is, how can we make the community hub that we have? We have really a hub, yeah, there's a pool there now, and yeah, there's a tennis court. But that's not for everyone. But we do have a hub. We have a center. We have a place that people know where they can congregate, where they can use, where they have the right of access to. So I think what we need to do going ahead is challenge ourselves within the association, within the neighborhood, to see how we can use that asset in a way that creates a stronger community. I'm a member of the Waterloo Region Crime Prevention Council, and one of the things that we talk about often is strong communities create safety and well-being. We know that. The literature's out there. I could have presented a PowerPoint presentation to show you that reality. Strong communities, strong neighborhoods build resiliency, and they build the kind of safety and community well-being that's now being promoted. So one of the things that I challenge us going forward is, how can we use that asset? How can we use sustainable funding for that asset to create the kind of community hub that would allow us to do things like hold public meetings on really important issues, really important issues in the community, to have neighbors come together, maybe over a coffee. I don't know whether beer would be allowed, but that would be my preference. Those kinds of meetings where we have that discussion with each other about the kinds of things that we can do as a neighborhood that would create the kind of sustainability and good things that make strong communities. And you've heard eloquently, I think, from people who basically said this community, even with the pool and the tennis court, has provided those opportunities for people to meet, to gather, to know each other, and so forth. So that's my perspective. I think going forward, it's a challenge I would, and I got energized by this question. What's in it for me? Yeah, what's in it for me, right? And I got energized by that question to think about how can we envision going forward this little asset so that it serves all of the community, all of the people, even those ones asking, what's in it for me? We can do that. I think we've been successful. And I appreciate your indulgence and thank you very much. And sorry I didn't bring PowerPoints, but I'm in recovery.
Thank you very much, Barry. Any questions for the delegate? Seeing none, well, there's always a place in Uptown here you can buy growlers of beer fresh out the back door called Haber, and I bet somebody can give you directions. Next up is Mr. David Howitt. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us as the group, both sides of our of Beechwood North. I've been a member of the association or the community for 20 years. I have 3 girls. Now they're all in university except for one's on her way to university. 3 nuns, I call them. That's not going to happen. But anyways, I guess one of the things I'm here for is all my kids learn how to swim. They learn how to get friendships at the pools and everything else, the tennis courts. But it's not about the tennis courts or the pool. It's more about the community. I consider a neighborhood, I look at a neighborhood compared to Beechwood North. The neighborhood to me is a brick and mortar, piece of tar down, some trees and everything else. Beechwood North is more of a community where we're all related, we all communicate with each other as we go forward and everything else. We all know each other. It's even more than that though, is what I really like about it. I'm actually born and raised in Kitchener, sort of say that. My wife's from Waterloo, I'm in Waterloo for 20 years, and I enjoy it, and I love the community. What I really like about the association that we belong to is we've all been part of it, we've all been on the boards, we've all worked it and everything else. But we actually see a satisfaction of growing up with our kids growing up. Someone mentioned earlier, my kids are older now, I see young kids going up, going to the pool and everything else. It's fantastic because it brings a tear to my eye, I'll say that. But the association, where we're located, our community is changing. And so younger families are moving into it now. It's really important. And we can grasp this right now as our Beechwood Association, what we have. If we say no to it, if we don't go ahead with the levy and everything else, we're going to lose that and we'll never get it back. So we have something right now that we can grasp. I think we should take the community as we go forward with 164 members. I went to the last meeting, the first public meeting we had about it, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I know we had a vote, 67% plus the 4 and everything else. And I sat back and I listened to, not both sides of the story, both opinions. No one's right, no one's wrong here, but both opinions. What I really noticed was the people that were not for it, which I appreciate, they all have good arguments for it. But in the meeting, I noticed something. The people that were not for it were actually bringing up ideas how we could improve the association and the community. Why don't we have this? Why are we doing this and everything else? And all of a sudden it hit me. There's 164 people that can be part of our community. Right now we have 64, but we're all part of the community. But if we go ahead with it, the levy, we'll have all 164, and we'll have more ideas coming into it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next up, Sheldon Pereira. Welcome, Sheldon.
Let's just start with that, I think. Good evening, Mayor Dworsky, members of council, city staff, and my fellow neighbors. It's nice to be here in an official capacity as a resident of Waterloo and as a neighbor in Beechwood North. The last few speakers have covered all of the things that I was going to say, so I'm going to choose not to divorce myself from emotion and speak very much from the heart as to why I believe in the future of Beechwood North Homes Association and believe in a sustainable way to support that future, and whatever way the community chooses to come together around a vision for that future, whether it be the assets that we have now or assets that look different to different people as the neighborhood changes and evolves over the next few decades. But I believe in community hubs, I believe in community assets, I believe in strong communities, I believe in strong neighborhoods, I believe in strong neighbors and strong families. So I want to speak very personally about why I chose Beechwood North. I think if you were to ask my parents, they would say that I'm living the Canadian dream. We immigrated 20 years ago from Christmas from Bahrain in the Middle East, and when I moved into the neighborhood with my now wife 2.5 years ago, it was the first place that we ever or at least I could ever truly call home. I was part of an association. I had ownership in my home, I had ownership in my community and in my neighborhood, and that meant a lot to me despite the fact that I bought the home from my former biology professor whose class I failed.
It wasn't very cold, was it?
It all came back to me when I saw the plants in the backyard, and I remembered I couldn't do a lick of plant genetics. But for me, Beechwood North really is a metaphor for the community that my family wanted me to live in when they chose to immigrate to Canada 20 years ago. And this is not me being melodramatic, but it's the truth. I am now living the realized dream of my family. For my wife, it's slightly different, but she's living the realized city dream, which coming from Toronto, I laugh at sometimes, but she grew up in Bamberg, and moving into Waterloo was her dream, moving into the city. So the two of us now, in very different ways, have found each other from across the world and have settled in Beechwood North. And when I think about community assets, I don't think about the pool, I don't think about the tennis courts, as some of my neighbors have referenced. I think about how great it is that we have a nexus to gather as a community. Whether that's me learning how to swim this past summer, after drowning twice as a child, or whether it's me having some friends over to play tennis, or me meeting my neighbors, given that my wife and I don't have kids yet, and we're new to the neighborhood. These neighborhood assets have been the catalyst for us to feel part of a community. So those are just a couple of the things that these community assets in this neighborhood represent to me. It also represents the envy of my friends that chose to live in Toronto and are realizing the value of communities that are intentionally and masterfully planned, that have trails, that have parks, and that have community assets. And you know, as I think about communities that I want to live in, I think that I can't expect that the city hold all the responsibility for building that community for me. I think that there are assets that the city should manage, there are assets that the community should manage, and then there are assets that I should manage. And this conversation is very much related to the second point. These are community assets that our community is trying to find a way to be responsible for. And regardless of where the assets fall, whether they be on pools or tennis courts or pickleball courts or open gathering spaces or a community gathering center, I believe that there needs to be a sustainable way for the community to channel their efforts into the right purposes, into the right causes, and not into fundraising to have those conversations. So, you know, when my wife and I decided to move into Beechwood North, we did so at great expense. We put all of our eggs in one basket, and we told ourselves that this would be the community that we raised a family, and that our family would be able to bring their grandkids to come back and visit their grandparents. And we did that partly because there was this great community asset component, and I hope that that continues to remain a part of my family's future. So, Council, I would encourage you, as you always do, to consider all opinions on the matter, but I would also encourage you to perhaps let the community exercise their voice in the vote and decide what they would like to see moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon. Questions for Delegate? Seeing none, thank you very much for your passion. We're down to our last three. The next group has 5 minutes each. First up is Marcia Domi.
First of all, thank you for bringing it down for me. So I do have some information here, but it's not statistics or anything like that, but just information I'd like to share. My name is Marcia Fukudomi. Not only am I a homeowner of the association for the past 8 years, but I also am a realtor, a sales representative. So I wanted to come here with talking from a personal perspective, which a lot of my neighbors have already in terms of the benefit of our community and having the pool and the tennis court, but also from a realtor perspective, you know, some of the impact that it could have potentially if the pool and tennis court were to go away, which I think is important for members to understand, and you know, those in the community understand and don't want to see that happen to their property or potentially their property value as well. So again, this is just my perspective dealing with my clients and customers. When I'm working with buyers, there's a lot of assets that a homeowner or, you know, buyers will look at when looking at a community that they want to be in. one of the reasons why the Beechwood community has done so well over the years is that there is an asset, which is the pool and the tennis court. People understand, you know, when you hear the stories of the families, when you talk about bringing community together, having a place for their children to go and play, being a safe community, you know, just having a gathering place. When people are looking for a home to bring their families to or to purchase a home, those are some of the things that they're looking for, and it has been an asset in our community and has sustained our property values in our Beechwood community. So my opinion is that if the pool and tennis courts were to be closed down, that attractiveness to our Beechwood neighborhood would decrease the attractiveness would potentially decrease, which would then potentially result in a decrease in our property value. And even if it's something as minimal as 0.5% or a percentage, you know, over a number of years, I believe one of the homeowners was talking about, you know, how it be minimal compared to the, you know, the fee that would be added on an annual basis. You know, you're looking at 1% over 5 years could be substantial, you know, versus, you know, 0.04 that you would pay on an annual basis. Some buyers look to move into the Beechwood community specifically because there is that pool and tennis court. The demographics in our neighborhoods are changing from the older original homeowners that maybe don't have the current use for the pool, but when they go to sell their home, they're going to be wanting to attract the younger families who want to be in these communities because of the lot sizes, because of the size of the homes. It's going to be bringing in those younger families. And so when you look at the community pool and tennis court that is really, I guess, more attractive to those younger demographics, you know, you need to sustain that in order to sustain the property value and the attractiveness of the community. One other thing is that we do see some student rentals in our property, in our neighborhood as well, just because of our proximity to the university. So, you know, my opinion is that if we were to not have a levy or not have a levy pass, there could be the potential of the property values decreasing as well, because now you have a community that no longer is attractive to those families, close proximity to the university, you know, potentially lower taxes, and so it's going to potentially drive more investors to our area, and therefore further decreasing the property value of our homes due to that factor. So I think if we were to, you know, pass that levy and give the opportunity for that SSL to be passed, we're protecting our neighborhood as well from an increase of student rentals as well. So that's just, you know, again, my personal opinion, just based on working with different individuals, seeing individuals that want to be in our neighborhood, and speaking with them, and them seeing the value of the pool and the tennis court in the community. And people are willing to pay a little bit more for those assets in a community. And if you take that away, you know, we wouldn't want to see the impact of our property value decreasing.
Great, thank you very much. I caught the nuance there. It's Marcia, not Marcia, right?
It's Marcia, yes.
Okay, great, thanks, Marcia. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none, thanks for that new information. Next up is Jeff Ireland. Welcome, Jeff.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, I've been a resident of Waterloo for 50 years now. Not quite born here, but been here most of my life. Beechwood North for 18 years. And I came here tonight to speak against this. And I'm still against it, but I'm not necessarily going to speak against it. I want to raise my concerns about the process. There are several of my neighbors that are misinformed or have not been communicated, in my opinion, properly about this process. They have no idea that this is even going on. A tremendous amount of work, I agree, guys, and I commend you for it. But there are people that disagree. I just want to raise points. The special vote that you guys may or may not approve, the process of it, I'm not aware of it. Where can I find out about it? How much information are you going to give to people? What it means to them, how it impacts them? A special levy, I'm assuming, is part of your taxes. You must pay it. What happens if you don't pay it? Is there going to be another meeting like this where people can speak against the final decision to have this levy? I don't even know that. I've looked on the internet. I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I have a lot of questions. I'm not necessarily going to speak against this tonight because I'm misinformed at this point. Okay. Hopefully, I get the information that I need to make a rational decision in the future. Because there are a lot of people that are going to speak against this when they have the opportunity.
Thank you, Jeff. And just for your information, there is a report that we have here, and if this does pass, the decision would be on Monday, March 20th, and that would be a discussion at council. So there would be opportunity, I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilor Henry, that would be the time when delegations could come again. We'll have to be advertising again at the following.
That isn't precisely correct. The report
well,
lays some of that
I'm
out.
going to turn over to Councilor Henry, who knows much more on this.
I'd look to the clerk or Paul to speak more to the substance of the report. The questions raised by the delegate in large measure are covered in the report before council, but I'd look to staff to provide some further details since it's their report.
Through you, Mayor Jaworski, to Councillor Henry. There actually is a public meeting scheduled to hear delegations on February 27th. At that time, delegations could come and appear before council to speak before the final vote, the final report comes to council for consideration.
And then in terms of this information getting out to the broader set of residents who should we move down this path, when would they get that? That's the kit? No, the...
Yes, that's correct. The voters' information package will be mailed out to residents on November the 25th, I believe, the last Friday of the month.
Yeah, and just for the benefits, and maybe people are watching that, people can go to the City of Waterloo website and download our current council package to see the information beginning on page 459, I think, the package is fine.
That is correct.
So they're available on our website, on our council meeting page. If you have any further questions, never hesitate to call our clerk's office during weekdays. Next up, Mr. Yandai.
Back up again, up and down, is that what this is all about? So, thank you, and to Mayor Jaworski and members of council. My name is Jan Dai. I live in the Beechwood 2 Homes Association, and I will be speaking in favor of moving ahead with the SSL process for the Beechwood North Homes Association. I believe this is the third, as we heard, this is the third organization going through the process. The first one happened to be in Beechwood 2, happened to be when I was a councillor. I was very actively involved with the development of the process to make sure that everybody's voice had a proper opportunity to be heard and to be able to strengthen the community through this whole process. So 2 points I'd like to make tonight. The first is, we've all heard the expression that it takes a village to raise a child. Having a strong community association is one of those building blocks in building that village. Beechwood 2, where I live, through the Homes Community Association, we get to know our neighbors, we interact with them, we undertake projects with them, we share food with them, we share common interests with them, we build respect, trust, understanding between ourselves. That's what we do in our neighborhood. The parents get to know all the kids, as you've heard tonight, and the kids get to know all the parents. And that's how we build a safe, caring, and well-connected neighborhood, where we all watch out for each other and where we can more easily spot when something's not quite right. Every member of the neighborhood, whether they attend the pool or not, benefits from a strong, healthy, and safe neighborhood. Just like every member of the community benefits from educating our youth, whether we are still in school or not. So that's the first point, build strong communities. The second point is, tonight is about a process, moving forward with a process to enable the community, Beechwood North, to have a conversation. This will enable the community, and the process is in place for a robust discussion. We've had plenty. I'm absolutely astounded by the passion that I've heard tonight on both sides of the debate. This will enable the community neighborhood association and any opposition to fees, what the neighborhood wants to look like, where they want it to go, how they want to do it. It puts the vote and that voice in their own hands, their own self-determination. So it's not really a city council recommendation or implementation. It's enabling the process so the neighborhood can decide what they want to do. And that is really, really important. So, if it takes a village to raise a child, this process is part of building that village and our better community. So I strongly encourage council to enable Beechwood 2 to move ahead without delay, without modification to what's currently in the report, so they can make their decision, so they can come to a resolution of what they want to be, and it doesn't hang for another 20 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none, thank you very much. Now, by my notes, I think I've completed all 17 delegates. That sounds familiar to everybody in the hall here today? Yes?
If everybody's done, I'd like to take a minute or two.
Sure, come on up for a minute or two. Welcome, please state your name and municipality, but I assume it's Waterloo.
My name is Avishalom Shalit. I am a resident on, well, the house also on Stillwell Circle. I'll be shorter because I've redacted many of the things I wanted to say were already covered. So some of this will be like a beat poem of statements. The first thing is that I want to say is that it was you mentioned the ghost, somebody mentioned the ghost of Christmas future here. And when I was thinking about this, the spooky ghost of Christmas future is that it seems to me that without the SSL, I mean, if I understand all the numbers correctly, in the long term, the pool, the tennis courts, and perhaps the association is doomed. It might last another year or two, but this struggle is not sustainable. So that's like the spooky future for me. My family and I moved to Beechwood North, to Waterloo, and to Canada just over 2 years ago. And the spirit of the community was one of the things that we immediately noticed. I mean, actually, that's part of the reason why we moved in. We moved in a day after Halloween 2 years ago, and the sort of spirits that exist in the neighborhood, yes, the pool is central to it, but it reverberates year-round. The fact that people meet each other and know each other from the pool, they know each other in October and November as well, and we felt very welcomed as we came. We've been there for 2 summers now. I'd say most of the people who I know, I've met at the pool. I go to work in the morning, I come back, I drive kids to after-school activities, I get back, do things. I don't get any chance to meet my neighbors. The neighbors that I know, I've met at the pool almost with no exceptions. Another point, safe neighborhoods was mentioned a while back. The fact that currently the association is accepting people from outside the neighborhood to the pool as a form of resource recuperation. We have people who don't live around who come in, and that's nice that other people can join, but it's less nice for the neighborhood because it means that during the summer there is a lot more traffic. There are a lot more parked cars along the beach lawn. This is one of the things that the SSL would avoid. You could still have guests over, it's just that you wouldn't have registered members coming in from other places that don't have pools, which, by the way, I guess they wish they had a pool because they're making the drive. I said I deleted everything that other people said. One thing I didn't delete and I would like to repeat is Sharon's comment from before about the feeling comfortable in the neighborhood, where our 9-year-old, we have a bunch of kids. We have 3 boys, 14, 12, and 9, and our twin girls are 3. So we expect to be using the pool in the future. So the fact that my 9-year-old can walk across the street to his friend, or his friend can come over, is something that, the feeling that you're comfortable with that is something that it's been said before, but I'm saying it again, I'm even wasting more time. reiterating it because I know how rare this is. And I said we came here just over 2 years ago. We also chose this pretty much globally. Before here, I was working in New York. We were living in New Jersey. Before that, we were in London, England. And before that, we lived in many places in Israel. So my university, my graduate studies, we moved around a lot. And that feeling that your neighbor has the key to your house, and your kids sort of roam the neighborhood with confidence, with their confidence, and with your confidence, it's fine. And that you know where they are, and if they need to go home, their the friend's parents can just send them home, and they'll cross the road and come back. That is a rare, that's a rare occurrence. There aren't many places like that, and I say that, looking with this perspective of having lived in many places, and my wife and I have over 10, probably 15 rental houses. We've been house hunting for 15 years. We bought the house on Still Meadow almost on an impulse. Like within 2 weeks of seeing the neighborhood, we found the house and bought it. There are places, like I said, we moved around a lot. We have seen a lot of neighborhoods. We've seen many different places. There are places where people don't want a neighborhood spirit. People want privacy. They want to hear as little as possible from their neighbors. And there's places where that's fine. And this is not that kind of place. And we're, like I said, we were so happy with it, we almost immediately, this is our first house that we ever bought. I see the 26 seconds. There was some mention before of the turnover of houses. I don't have an exact number, but I bet about 10% of the houses in the neighborhood changed hands in the last year. Probably maybe 9, maybe 11. That means that the neighborhood, the people will move around, and if the pool closes, that will change the neighborhood. It might be people who aren't looking for that kind of spirit, which makes it done. That was 5 minutes. So.
You got it right on time. Congratulations on the twins, by the way. Okay, I think, yes, please, come on up. Just state your name and residence, but I assume Waterloo.
My name is Ken Steele. I'm 403 Still Meadow Circle. I was the president of Beechwood North that the treasurer Beechwood 2 alluded to. I was the one that created and went to many other Beechwood associations to work on a solution to warn them of what was coming down, what we were facing, and I identified the actions and the plans that we had put in place to attempt to survive, and all of the plans were deemed, from my viewpoint, were not long-term. My goal was to set something up, and which we did, to last until a decision, an actual solution could be found. I anticipated the decisions, the financing decisions would last maybe 5-6 years after I became deceased or moved away from being president. The homeowners, the executives, over the years have survived for 10, 15 years trying to piece things together. In the past, Beechwood North Homeowners Association not only represented all the people in the household, all households in the neighborhood. For example, when there was a zoning issue came up, and not only did the executive at the time, being Sharon as the president, represented the households in our neighborhood, but they also represented other neighborhood associations, namely Beach Bridal Gate, sorry, to come and make the zoning change, to work together. Beechwood North Association has provided a lot of input into the city over the years before they've really had to worry about the financial natures or financial problems they've got. For example, some of you may be aware of a community called Waterloo Community Council. That was, again, actually developed, that concept was developed in Sharon Tucker's living room. And one of the spin-offs you're probably familiar with is the voter support committee. So that all came from the Beechwood North Association. We worked on a lot of stuff. that way. When the director of recreation at the time needed help to get all the Beechwoods together, to work together, they came to myself in particular. So I just want to say that we're not just a neighborhood association, we're more than that. We're not a recreation association, we're a community association. And our neighbors together work as neighbors, and as a neighborhood, neighbors make neighbors, neighbors make communities, and communities make the city. So it's key that this association functions and continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the delegate? Seeing none. This time we'll do the last call. Okay, we're done. Good. Thanks for all the delegates here tonight. I think one thing I'd like to thank everyone for is all the difference, new information, the difference of what's going on here. We're still work to do, so before I get excited, I just wanted to say thank you all. But remember to be respectful in all that we do. We're sharing ideas here, and we're looking at a trajectory for the Beechwood North Homes Association. And just in all your dealings, I know several of you highlighted it, that it's all about family and being together, and we need to keep it that way. And with that, I'll turn it over to Council for a motion or discussion. Councillor Henry, please. Okay, moved by Councillor Henry, second by Councillor Whaley. Back to Councillor Henry.
So, thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you in particular to the community for coming out. We've launched a neighborhood strategy where we've had 100 folks join our panel. We've asked for broader forums for people to come. I think there is nothing dearer to this council than an opportunity to sit down and hear about, talk about, and engage on what makes for strong neighborhoods in our community. I think it was properly highlighted as an important goal of the city, and has been for some time, but we put it on paper and we're putting it into action. I want to thank residents for their heartfelt, thoughtful, and respectful opinions on all sides of this. And I know people on both sides fairly well and for some time. So while it can't be more personal to me than it is to you, I do understand where these are coming from for neighbors. I also want to commend and notice the presence of children that have stuck with us tonight. I think that's really important. My wife and I talk about how growing up our parents brought us to the voting booth, and that was a really important civic act for us to see and participate in, because it creates a lifelong opportunity. But I've often said it's between elections that matter so much more in terms of being able to stay engaged, and this is an excellent opportunity for the next generation to really see how decisions get made, where they get made, how they happen, who has to get involved, and I hope that that's a great experience for all of the folks that are here, and even though they may be looking at other things from time to time, they remember this. So commenting on what I've heard, I would note there's a large degree of similarity between this association and the other two that have gone through here, certainly in a legal sense. The one difference I certainly need to highlight and acknowledge is the length of time without a covenant. That is a bona fide difference between this association and others, and so I've given a lot of thought as to what I think about that and how I have to think about that. So I think that's an important consideration. It's being raised by folks, and it's important to me. And so for me, my North Star on this was thinking back to both election campaigns and what I said at the doors, what I told people I would do. I think the most important thing for any of us sitting up here is to reflect on the commitments that we made, the promises that we made, and as best as we can to hold fast to those. So I went back and looked at the notes that I wrote down from 2010, and they said almost word for word what one of our delegates said here tonight in relation to self-determination. And it's not for me to tell a neighborhood what makes it strong. It's for the neighborhood to identify what that is. It's not for me to identify a path forward for a neighborhood that's experiencing these challenges with their association. It's for the neighborhood to make that decision, to make it decisively, but for the neighborhood to make it. And that my role would be to help the neighborhood navigate City Hall and give voice to those expressions and concerns. So regardless of what I might think about the similarities and differences and the rest, that's my North Star for the commitment I made 6 years ago to neighborhoods when I ran the first time, and committed to 2 years ago when I ran again, and that's to support the neighborhoods in making these kinds of big decisions. And they've done the necessary things to get here tonight. The threshold that the association mentioned on its FAQ and the website, I think is a good bar to look at. It's really a double supermajority, 2/3 of ballots cast and 2/3 of those being in support. A double supermajority is a good set of bars, and certainly that's reasonable for me as I look forward to see what happens in a formal vote. And just in response to a couple of pieces that people have raised. This is a city-conducted vote, not an association-conducted vote, so it is impartial and independent from the clerk's office. Runs this as efficiently and under similar principles under the Municipal Elections Act as our municipal elections. So in terms of secrecy of ballots and how that process works, that's where they're at. And I would also note, in response to some of the financial pieces that were raised, I know it's been a challenge for a long number of years for this association to make it through. I want to commend the executive, not just for all the work they've done to get to this point, but in particular for the detail on the financial side. I've seen that's been forwarded to me from some other residents that have asked. So I've seen the 15-year forward, the 15-year projection on the CapEx and the OpEx expenditure, the breakdown of some of those. That's very, very detailed. It reminds me of looking at our own budgets on those. So I do appreciate that. I haven't seen that level of detail come from either other association in these that have gone through this process before. So I really appreciate the detail work done, and it gives me more confidence in terms of the risk of what this facility might look like should the neighborhood choose to go ahead and enter into this arrangement with the city to make it happen. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming today. My support of this motion is to put this into your hands under a process that we designed with the community and have been through twice before. And so with that, I commend it to you to figure out what the next step is. And that we'll see you back in council in the spring.
Thank you very much. Councillor Burke.
I want to echo what Councillor Henry says to a large degree, but also add that we do live in a democracy. You get a vote, but it's so very rare that you get a chance in a neighborhood to place a direct vote on something that really affects everything about where you live. And your passion for it's inspiring, but I want you to, and I hope that you'll embrace that opportunity. It is so rare to have that direct say. And I'm glad that I get the feeling that we're more than happy to have that decision made by you, because it's the people that you're affected the most. And I want to echo what Mayor Dvorsky has said, because we see too often this desire to be right. I want to be right. I want to be on the right side of things. And I know that every one of you, no matter which side you're on, feels that that's very important to you, and I completely support that. But let's have a real discussion about the future of the neighborhood and the future of the association and where it goes. This is your opportunity to really build whatever you want. And I know that there's the passion and concern for that. So embrace this and run with it, and show the rest of the city what you can do when you're given the chance.
Thank you. And Councillor Whaley, please.
Yeah, it's been countless Monday nights that I've sat here over so many years. And I don't remember a time when I had so many articulate speakers, one after the other, talking so passionately about the issue on both sides. And it occurs to me that even though there were 18 of you who spoke and spoke well, you're 18 of 164. And so for those of you who spoke in the minority tonight, I congratulate you for being here. It's a tough thing to do to know that you're in a minority position. But my guess is that you represent the 18 most passionate people on this issue in your neighborhood. And that there are others who might not have the same passion, but will have the opportunity through this process to have a vote. And my guess is a closer vote than the vote we had tonight. Look forward to hearing the result of that. It's your great opportunity to have a neighborhood democratic experience, and I wish you well.
Excellent. Seeing no further speakers, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That would be all of us. Okay, thank you, and thank you all for coming out tonight, and look forward to the process over the next coming months. And we have a little bit more business to do.
So recognizing folks are doing what they're doing, if you can try to keep it down a little bit, we'll move as quickly as we can on our last item. Yeah, so there's plenty of places to talk outside. Hey folks, really appreciate the time. You can debrief outside. We've got 2 items left that we'd like to get done. Yeah, we're just going to keep going. So, we're on the agenda. We have no communications and correspondence, no regional information and correspondence, no unfinished business, new business. Councillor Darrell.
Hi, I'm hoping that council be interested in waiving notice of motion so we can move this through. I'll read the thank you, Jaworski.
So I look for a motion moved by Councillor Darrell and Mayor Jaworski to waive notion through the following motion, whereas the Uptown BIA is hosting the Festival of Living.
Here, I'll read it. Yeah, I've got this. So let me explain for a minute. We've all spoken about this, and this is for Uptown Waterloo. We are opening the street. LRT construction is about to finish. Not if you can hear me? Yeah, okay, great. And so in order to do that, we're hoping to get some money from the Council Contingency Fund. So it says, whereas the Uptown BI is hosting the Festival of Living Streets on December 3rd to promote the reopening of King Street following LRT construction, it is recommended that Waterloo City Council provide $15,000 from Council Community Priority and Contingency Reserve to the Uptown BIA for the promotion and delivery of the Festival of Living Streets.
So the
15,000, 1.15.
Yeah. So the motion to waive notice of motion, I presume that we need Councillor Darrell, seconded by Mayor Jaworski. All in favor of waiving notice of motion, carried. The motion itself, Councillor Darrell and seconded by anybody else who wants to. I'm going to give it to someone else. That'll be Councillor Freeman. Any discussion on the motion? Other than, isn't it going to be open and isn't that going to be great?
It's going to be open. It's going to be open. Everyone repeat after me. It is going to be open.
There is asphalt on the ground before snow, and that, I think, was not necessarily what we thought would happen. So this is great.
This is really important to the businesses in Uptown Waterloo. We need to remind people in this city that Uptown is open, and so we're hoping that by throwing this party, that'll include a lot of amazing, great things that people will start to come back into the core.
So has been moved and seconded. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Do you have a question, Ange?
You have questions?
Can you give us any hints about what's going to be happening? And who's invited and how? Everyone is invited to come uptown. There'll be lots of really interesting, fun things to do. There'll be giveaways. There will be lots of lights. It's going to be spectacular. Yes, sorry, long night. That was a long night. So, yes, there will be carolers. There will be carriage rides. At what time?
There's trolley rides.
We're starting it on, it's on December 3rd.
Okay, good start.
Yeah. So that is a Saturday, no done day. Been there, done that. So it'll be all day. I believe that there might be a special holiday someone there who wears red and says ho ho ho. All right, let's vote on this.
Yeah, moved and seconded. No further debate.
She's putting her calendar.
Questions are fine, but there's now no further debate. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that's carried.
Thank you, Council.
Is there any further new business? Seeing none, is there any questions, Council? Please God, no. Seeing none, motion to adjourn. That would be Councillor Darrell, Councillor Heath, all those in favor, and we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Here you go. What's the schedule, my friend?
The schedule is CTV wants us.
Okay, so I